Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another edition of the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. It's your boy Rob, and I am here with the one and only Mr. Rob Norton. How are you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. How are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. It's been a solid week. We've had nothing but great weather over here. It was like 95. Went down to Columbus to go check out some of the Memorial Tournament.
There you go.
That was Friday. So solid little weekend. How about you? What'd you do this weekend?
Had my son's t-ball game, t-ball pictures. So I was kind of running around with him.
Was there a parade or anything for Memorial Day?
No, actually, yeah, we did have my wife's cousin and her kids came over. So we went up and saw that, and then we did go bed shopping. We're looking. Yeah, we need a new bed and mattress and everything. So yeah,
I need one. I've been looking. I've been a little deep diving, going into some nooks and crannies, trying to figure out which bed's the best. My buddy, I was at my buddy's house this weekend, and he's got one of those purple mattresses.
Okay, yeah,
they're all little squares.
Yeah,
I laid on it. It's pretty nice.
Really?
It's pretty nice. We might have to pull the trigger, but we'll see. I'm doing my research right now.
We were debating on it. We were planning on buying like a purple or a nectar, basically.
Yeah.
Because dude, the thing is at our house, to get up our stairs is basically impossible with the mattress. So we have to get like a box, like a mattress where you can like
a rolled up.
Yeah. So we actually went to Ashley Furniture yesterday, and we ended up getting a mattress, and so it was basically like it was a similar to the purple, but it was like Serta brand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was half off too. Like it was like actually more than half off. I think we paid $400 for it or something. So it was normally like $1,000.
Might have to go mattress shopping this weekend, maybe.
Dude,
I need it. Mine's too stiff, I get
it's
a bad shoulder. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work,
dude. That's the one thing I was gonna say. Like when you're young and stuff, nobody tells you about mattress shopping, bed shopping, stuff like that. How much it sucks. It's awful, man. You guys got to spend so much on this.
They're so expensive. They're so
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But you can't put a price on good night's sleep, right?
That's true. That is 100% true.
So we have an exciting show for you guys today. We are going over our top 12 running backs. We're going to do our debate again. Me versus Norton. Who he has too high, who he's got too low, who I got too high, who I have too low. So we're going to get into this very soon, get back and forth. And I'm excited for this one, man. Running backs, hot topic. There's a lot of quarterbacks are cool, but it's kind of, I don't want to say cake or anything like that, but for the most part, you know what you're getting into. But with running backs and receivers, it can get kind of wild. So I'm pretty excited for this one. And also, if you guys are watching, listening, please go on our Twitter. We have a poll up right now where we are not rebranding, but we're redoing our logo. So we have a couple options on there. Go take a vote, see which one you guys like. We're going to start rolling that out. Hopefully get into the merch side of things and a couple different couple different things coming your guys' way. So we're excited for that. I think we narrowed it down as a group to our favorite 2. We put it up to a poll for you guys to go vote. So if you haven't, please go do that because it means a lot to us. And we're pretty excited for what we came up with. Norton, did you vote?
I haven't voted on Twitter yet. So I got to get out there and do that
see
too.
him?
I saw him in the Discord, but I haven't seen him. Like, I didn't know if those were the final 2 because I saw when I was scrolling through, Mario put a couple other ones up, but I don't know. So I don't know which ones were the ones that actually hit the Twitter. So I'm gonna have to
Twitter.
check that out. See what.
We had a handful of them. We've been going back and forth with some graphic designers and stuff. So we're pretty excited for what we came up with. I like them a lot.
Yeah, as I say, from all the ones I saw, they were pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like the brand is cool. So I think if you get a solid logo, you can roll some stuff out. We'll have some fun with it
for sure.
Let's see. We got a lot of. She's got a Tiff. Do you like the purple mattress? Because we are interested. Oh, here we go. We got some people already going. Good evening, Albert. And we have a Miles Sanders.
Ooh.
Miles Sanders today.
So foreshadowing, I see, huh?
We're excited. Tiff loves her purple mattress. So, all right. I think I'm going to have to go take a look and see what we're getting into. Well, let's get some news for today, Norton. We had some things come out. Dalvin Cook to Miami is a real possibility. What do you think this means for Miami? What do you think this means for Kane? What do you think it means for, I mean, obviously one of Mostert, Jeff Wilson would probably be gone if I had to guess. But if Dalvin Cook goes to Miami, what do you think this happens? What do you think happens in that backfield?
Man, I would expect him to be the lead. I mean, you know, I mean, obviously he's biggest name by far that would be in their backfield. Obviously Mostert, Wilson have both done really well when given shots in that scheme. So, like you said, I would have to think one of them would probably be gone. I don't know.
I would bet Mostert because he's what, 31?
Mostert is 31.
I think he's playing 32 this year.
Yeah. So it would
Wilson's
be
like 27.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, and Mostert doesn't have the strongest track record of health either. So unfortunately, but yeah, it would be. I mean, a huge blow to both of those guys. A big blow to Achane too. I would think that he's kind of relegated to, you know, some pass down work here and there, and you know, kind of being used a little bit gadgety maybe in the beginning, just trying to get it, manufacture a couple touches here and there because he's so fast. But yeah, I mean, obviously that would really put a damper on his outlook, barring a Dalvin Cook injury.
Yeah. Do you think this helps or hurts Tua?
From fantasy perspective, let's see. I would say probably helps.
Right, he's a good enough pass catching back.
Right, as I say, he can catch passes out of the backfield, and it just takes the offensive's, you know, overall scoring ceiling up as a whole. So
yeah,
I would think they would, you know, be a better offense with Dalvin. And the only downside would be they probably inside the 5, inside the 10, they might run it a little bit more, having Dalvin versus not. So may limit some touchdown opportunities for Tua when they get close. But I mean, when you have Waddle and Tyreek, I mean, you're still going to want to get those guys the ball wherever you are on the field.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes the offense better as a whole. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting. That would be a crazy offense to go along with a really good defense. Hopkins to Cleveland is starting to look like a real possibility. A lot of things coming out, a lot of teams, a lot of news saying that some teams are pulling back on the Hopkins race. I saw Buffalo Bills are out. I saw the Cowboys are out. I saw even the Chiefs are kind of out now. Kind of narrowing down. It looks like Cleveland, the Pats, maybe the Patriots. What do you think? Where do you think he's really going to end up? Do you think this is a real possibility? And I mean, obviously, I'm a Browns fan. You're a Browns fan, so we want Hopkins. I want Hopkins. I think he'd be a great addition to this offense. But what's your outlook? What's your outlook, one, if Hopkins comes to Cleveland, for the other receivers? And do you think it's do you think it's going to happen?
I do at this point think it's going to happen. I always thought it was like a great fit from the beginning. As soon as he was released, and they kind of like downplayed it all for a while. I mean, until Watson basically was like, "Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, I want this guy." Obviously they had great rapport back in Houston, so yeah, it's definitely, as a Cleveland fan, Tiff to Green Bay, huh?
I don't know, Tiff. I don't know. We'll see. I want him here, so
Exactly.
if he doesn't come to Cleveland, you can. I hope you get him. So we'll say that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously it helps Watson for sure. His outlook, give him another huge weapon that he's familiar with already, so shouldn't take too long to sink back in. I think it would hurt every other pass catcher just from a volume standpoint. I mean, Hopkins, obviously he's getting, exactly. He's getting a little older, but he still was bringing in a big target share when he was healthy last year. So that's going to cut into Amari. I think Amari would tick down a little bit. And I think, the Tillman and DPJ would kind of have their spike weeks, I think, but I don't think you could ever rely on them without barring an injury. And then Njoku would probably hurt a little bit too, just volume standpoint.
And in the red zone.
Exactly. So yeah, it's definitely a trickle down effect among all the pass catchers, but definitely a huge boost to Watson.
Yeah. As a Browns fan, obviously I think it'd be fantastic. And also I own a lot of Deshaun Watson in fantasy leagues. So yeah, it's really good to have just another elite pass catcher for your quarterback. But especially with what happened at the end of last season when Watson came back, we all know he didn't look good, right? Like, he was uncomfortable in the offense. He didn't look like himself. Giving him it's not arguably his greatest weapon ever that he has that rapport with and has just the familiarity with, I think would be huge just to kind of jumpstart Watson. Give him somebody that he's used to, let him throw to him, let him kind of get back in sync with somebody he knows. And I think the sky would be the limit for what Watson could do with Hopkins and Amari Cooper. I really do. I think that'd be a fun tandem, and see where, obviously it's an older tandem, but they're still both really good. So it would be fun to see. And then Khalil Herbert says that the Bears backfield will be a running back by committee. Norton, what do you take away from this? And are you staying away from all the running backs in this offense?
Yeah. Originally I was pretty excited about Khalil Herbert considering what we saw last year. And then they went and drafted Roshan, which I liked Roshan from the beginning. And obviously once he landed there, definitely opportunity for him. So I kind of expected it to be somewhat of a committee anyways. I did expect Herbert to kind of be the lead just because he had been there. But I did expect those two to be splitting most of the work. And then they have Dante Foreman too, they brought in. So probably all three will get some work. It'll probably be a nasty situation you don't really want to rely on. And plus Justin Fields being a running quarterback, probably not a lot of pass catching to the running backs, because we know how that goes when it's a running quarterback. They will take off and break contain rather than check down. So I'm probably staying away from most. I think at this point, looking at like ADPs and everything, Roshan is the one who I've drafted the most, I think, because I think it is going to be more Herbert and Roshan. I think Roshan will be the most heavily involved in the passing game of the 3-2. And he's the second cheapest right now. He's going cheaper than Herbert. So Roshan is probably the one that I'm going to have the most of. But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty frustrating until, unfortunately one of them possibly goes down.
Yeah, I'm curious how it's going to play out. I think what you ultimately have to figure out is who's going to be the inside the 10-yard back, right? Like who's going to be that goal line back that's going to get those, the critical yardage, the in the 5 and inside the red zone. Like who's going to be that guy? Right now we don't know, and we'll see. We're not going to know until the season starts. So it's kind of honestly, like for me, like if I'm picking between the three, I'm taking the cheapest option because you just take them, you hold, you see what you got. Maybe you hit on that guy. And if not, you cut bait and you don't really lose anything, right? Because what Dante Foreman's going super late. And if you can get him real late in your drafts and then he ends up being that guy inside the 10 yards, like that's valuable no matter what. So that's just kind of how I look at it. Obviously, Dynasty is a little bit different, but just for redraft purposes, that's how I would look at it because we like really nobody knows how this is going to shake out in that backfield. And like you said, you got Justin Fields who's going to eat up a ton of that yardage anyways. Tough to rely on any of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is like a lot of people will shy away from like, ambiguous situations, but that's the best situations where you can kind of just take the cheap values. And even differently, and depending on how many leagues you play in, different best ball drafts you do, different things like that. You could see Khalil Herbert fall real far in one draft. You're in. Just scoop him up if he's a good value. Like you said, Foreman's the one that's usually the cheapest. But if any of the other ones fall, and you're doing like I said, any other best ball drafts, a bunch of leagues that you're in, just scoop the values because any week one of them could. There's obviously always injuries, things like that. That's a lot of where like last year when it came to thinking of like pass catchers more, but like the Jaguars passing game, nobody really knew what was going to happen. Kirk and Ingram both ended up being great values. Even Zay Jones too. They all really did because everyone was kind of just avoiding because you just don't know. So like those are the kind of situations where you end up getting a lot of value. So it could be this situation too.
Yeah, 100%. So we've got a question here from Albert. Where would you rank Alexander Mattison? Let me go through my rankings here really quick for you. I have him at RB20 for this season. Obviously, that's with me. Dalvin wasn't released yet, right?
Right.
Yeah, but writing's on the wall. Dalvin's going to get released or traded, one of the two. So I peg it. Alexander's going to be the main back there, and I got him at RB20. In my opinion, I got him very similar kind of volume usage as Dalvin, but just not as efficient. So that's where I have it.
That's kind of the same for me. I don't have him there right now on my rankings. I haven't updated like as of like when I went through it, it was kind of more hedging a little bit on Dalvin, but then I had Alexander ranked somewhat pretty much like a backup. So I would be right in that same neighborhood, top 24-ish. Kind of mid to back end RB2.
Somebody under the dad bod account, Clyde values. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know about that value, my friend. We'll see.
He's cheap. I guess we could say that.
Yeah, he is cheap. He is cheap. He's a free piece if you want. But yeah, that's where I have Alexander Mattison. He's going to get usage. He's going to get a lot of work, but we know he's not the most efficient with the work. So exactly. That's kind of where I have him. Let's get in. Oh, actually, Norton. I think you have a little game that you said you wanted to play.
That's true. Before we get into it, we got a little fun little running back blind resume game here. Yeah. And we're gonna see if Rob knows his running back prospect profiles.
See if I can figure this out.
Him. So what I'm gonna do is
put me on the spot.
I know. We got two straight weeks of you getting put on the spot. I was put on the spot last week with Mario's surprise little stuff. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
I was not ready for it.
I like it. He's playing. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say anyone who's watching, if you know what these players are, or if you know what I'm gonna do is name them out by the resume here, see which one Rob would prefer, and then also see if he knows who the two are. And we're gonna have two sets here, so we'll get it started. Player A has early second round draft capital. He's 24 years old. He was RB 17 in points per game last year with 13.3. The previous 2 years, he was RB 1 and RB 8, 21.9 and 16.9 points per game. He's never had more than 40 receptions in a single season, and he's getting a QB change this year. Player B, also early second round draft capital. He's 27 years old. Last year was RB6, 16.6 points per game. And he's been RB 10, 7, and 10 the previous 3 years, 15.4, 17.3, 15.9. Also, not a prolific pass catcher, never more than 36 receptions in a single season, but he does have the same QB as last year, so a little bit more continuity.
Okay.
So if you need me to repeat any of it, I know it was a lot thrown at you there.
Yeah. So I'd rather have the 24-year-old.
Okay, and
So
this is also going for. I did mean to preface it's for redraft, but
yeah,
it's still. So you'd rather have
I want the younger back kind of going into his prime as opposed to someone coming out of their prime. Yeah.
Ooh, I see it.
I would say RB, the second RB you said, is that Jacobs?
No, that's a great guess though. That's a great guess. It probably would have been, but if not for last year's high in receptions for Jacobs.
That's right. You said, how many receptions did you say?
36 is his most.
36 is his most, and he was RB6 in points last year.
Yeah, and then RB 10, 7, and 10.
Wow.
So he's been a top 10 back 4 straight years, never more than 36 receptions.
Henry.
I knew that was going to be the guess too. That it's not Henry.
No, really.
He's a little bit younger. Yep, it is Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Nick Chubb. Who do you think player A is? Yep, they got it down there.
Yeah, I like that. This guess, once he said it, it was
JT.
It was there,
yeah.
JT.
Yeah, it is JT. Jonathan Taylor was player A. Nick Chubb, player
Chubb.
B. So
we got some Chubb love here.
Yeah, it's interesting between the two. They both have kind of similar profiles. Both considered very pure runners. Two of the best pure running backs in the game.
You said JT's never had over how many receptions?
40.
Really?
40 is his top. He's topped out at in his 3 years. Obviously, he was hurt. But yeah, 40 was.
I thought he had more when he was RB1, but okay.
Yeah, it was all touchdown. It was 20. He had 20
touchdowns or something.
Yeah, like 20 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get into the next set. Here's the last one. So player A, mid-second round draft capital, 26 years old, RB7 last year, 16 points per game, has been RB5, 10, 19, and 9 previous 4 years. With 18, 16.6, 14, and 17.4. Last year, he had a career high in receptions with 60. Heading into this year, has a ton of continuity, same coach, team, QB, in a high-end offense.
I know what this is.
And his biggest threat for touches is gone, but a team did bring in a rookie. Player B, late first-round draft capital, 24 years old. He was RB 23 last year, 12 points per game. And then he was hurt the previous year. 35 receptions last year. Also has lots of continuity. Same QB, coach, team, and again, also in a high-end ascending offense. The biggest threat for touches from last year is also gone, but the team also did bring in a rookie as well. So first off, which out of what I've named there, which guy would you rather have? Player A or
Can
player
you repeat
B?
number 2 for me? The points per game for last year.
12.1 points per game. He was
RB what?
23.
How old is he?
24. So he's the younger one by 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rather have. You're baiting me here, you bastard. All right, I'd rather have RB1 here.
Okay. Albert's got a guess here, I see.
Okay. So this would be for the second, I'm assuming here. No, this is wrong. I know who RB1 is. So if there's any other guesses for RB1, get them out now because I'm going to guess. We have a dad bod saying Tony Pollard versus ETN, and that's not correct.
It is not correct. At least one of those.
The ETN was wrong, right?
At least one of those is not correct, I will say. I'll say one of those is correct.
Okay. Bait me.
It's a perfect transition here.
It is. This is a great transition, but I don't like what you did to me here.
It is not Jacobs. It is
what
not
is this
Jacobs. It is not
half point PPR.
This is full PPR. It's not Jacobs. It's not Kenneth Walker. Pretty solid guesses though, especially considering age and the career high receptions and things like that. But yeah, I will. Has anyone got any more guesses for player?
Any more? We're sounding it out here. 5, 4, 3, 2. It is Joe Mixon versus Travis Etienne.
It is Joe Mixon and Travis Etienne.
He was at 12 last year, points per game.
Etienne?
Yeah.
12.3, yeah. Or 12.1. 12.1 from what I have here.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Both of them have similar kind of like on those aspects. Both in high-end offenses, ascending offenses, a lot of continuity from year to year. The Mixon was rough there. I did, the way it was described was pretty. Mixon and Jacobs had a similar kind of season with the career high. The only difference now is the continuity of offenses. But yeah, you did pretty good there. I hats off to you. Surprised you with that one. So
I knew it. Once I heard a couple of those stats, I was like, I think I looked these up today.
Yeah. I figured you'd get the second grouping a little bit better.
Yeah, you very interesting. Very interesting.
No motivation at all for the pairing of those two at all. But yeah, so we can I was gonna say if you wanted to
let's get into
you want to read your
I'll let you start.
Okay.
I'll let you start. So we got a little graphic here from Sly Bry himself, Brian on the pod. So I'm going to let you read your 12, kind of go over a little bit of each guy, why you have him, where you have him, and what you think for the outlook of the season.
Yeah, so at 12, I got Joe Mixon. Like we mentioned in the previous little game here, he's been awesome for years in a row. In an awesome offense, should get good pass work, should get a ton of volume. Basically been a top 12 back for 4 out of the past 5 years in points per game. So got him there at 12. Derrick Henry at 11. Dude's a beast. He doesn't get the pass game usage that you'd want, but again, just a monster. Number 10, Ramondre Stevenson. Broke out in a big way last year. Awesome pass catching back. I'm always tend to be higher on the pass catching backs. So I got Ramondre there at 10, Breece at 9. Awesome before going down. A little worried about the ACL. He could be a guy that I end up dropping some as the season gets closer, depending on reports, depending on usage. 8, Nick Chubb. As we mentioned in the game, he's been great without the pass game usage this year without Kareem Hunt. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a career year. 7, Josh Jacobs, coming off of a career year, has been awesome. I'd probably have him a little bit higher if it wasn't for just uncertainty in Vegas, man. Honestly, it's tough there. And plus the top guys, it's tough to get in there. So Jonathan Taylor, 6. Dude was RB1 2 years ago. Yeah, it was a lot of touchdowns. So I'm hoping to see his pass catching usage go up, but I also don't want to expect that too much if Anthony Richardson starts all year, because it's, we know with the running quarterbacks. That's why I have him down a little bit. Saquon at 5, Saquon. I mean, he's been awesome. So Tony Pollard at 4 is one of our guys here. Dude was awesome last year. Now no Zeke, or likely no Zeke. We'll see if they bring him back cheap or something. But really, really bullish on Tony Pollard this year. Number 3, Bijan Robinson, everybody's favorite Bijan. We'll get more into him a little bit later. 2, I feel like these top 2 are the consensus top 2 in either order. Austin Eckler, 1, Christian McCaffrey, just 2 elite pass catching backs, 2 all around studs. So
with nothing but touchdowns.
Exactly, just everything you could ask for.
Yeah, I'll get into mine real quick, and then we'll move on. But so at 12, I got Travis Etienne coming in. We're going to get into him in a little bit, so we can kind of save that. 11, I have Breece Hall. I would have him way higher if it wasn't for the ACL. I think he's an awesome talent. Next year, if he kind of catches fire at the back half of the season, I'm going to have him easily inside my top 8 because I think he's a stud. 10, I have Miles Sanders, another guy we're going to get into. Super bullish on him this season. I think he's going to do a lot of really good things. Number 9, Derrick Henry. I think where do you have? You got him at 11. I don't hate where you have him. I could definitely see myself dropping him just a little bit. Again, another year older. We keep saying, like, when's Derrick Henry going to fall off a cliff? He showed a little bit of a regression last season. Wasn't quite as efficient. So by the time my final rankings are done, I can really see him coming back down to like right where you have him 11, 12. But he's a beast. So it's hard to keep him out of the top 12. Number 8, Bijan Robinson, another guy we're going to get into. So I'll keep on moving. 7, Nick Chubb. Just keeps doing it. He's good. Again, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a career season pass catching wise, and he could easily get into the top 5. No questions about it. Number 6, Jonathan Taylor. Like you said, everything that I wanted to say. I just hope that pass catching comes up a little bit, but with a rookie QB, I can see them leaning on Jonathan Taylor a ton to kind of get them through, kind of grind games out, make it an ugly game, keep it on the ground, and he might get a ton of usage. Saquon Barkley at number 5. He proved it again last year while he was one of the best backs his rookie season. Like he's just a beast. Number 4, Josh Jacobs, another guy I can see myself dropping down. I ranked him 4 when before the Jimmy G news. So that was kind of why I went with him at 4. I think there's a lot more uncertainty in that offense. So I'll keep a gauge on that. If there's a lot more uncertain, if they release Jimmy G, he's definitely going to drop a ton for me. But right now I'm comfortable 4. He might drop down to like 5 or 6. Tony Pollard at 3. He's my sweet darling. He was my darling last year. I think he's a amazing back. Zeke's gone. Even if Zeke comes back, it's not going to be on that massive contract where they feel hamstrung to use him as much as they do. So Tony Pollard, he had like 50% of the snaps and he was still RB8. So if that goes up, I don't see why he can't be RB3, and I'm super, super high on him this season. And then, like you said, Austin Eckler at 2, Christian McCaffrey at 1. Two of the best backs in the league, and they just continue getting over 100 targets a season. So if that continues again, they're going to finish 1 and 2. No questions about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing with those two. Like, it's hard for anyone to compete with them when they're putting up basically almost 1,000 rushing yards plus like wide receiver 1 or 2 level receiving. Like, then so it's just one player of just ridiculousness. So
nobody gets that volume. Yeah. Even I mean, half the wide receivers don't get that volume.
I know, that's what's unreal. That's what's unreal. Like, it's just so ridiculous having one of those two. But I was going to ask you too, with Tony Pollard, because this is something that if Zeke does sign back there, will you drop him some, or are you still going to keep him? Okay.
Very comfortable where I have him. I don't have him with a crazy amount of volume in the rush game.
Right. So
I have him either way. If Zeke comes in, if Lenny Fournette comes in, I kind of, while I was doing these rankings, I figured they're going to bring in a vet running back, a Kareem Hunt, like I said, Lenny Fournette. Even if they bring Zeke back in, I think they figured out last season, like, this guy is an elite talent. Like we can't keep him off the field anymore. We tried it. We've been trying to give the ball to Zeke as much as we can. Then you put Tony Pollard on the field and look what, like, okay, this is different. It's a different offense with this guy on the field. Like we just can't keep him off the field. And
Exactly.
like I said, he was RB8 with 50% of the snaps. I think that'll jump up to like 60, 65. And I believe there's going to be a ton more in the pass game with them. You add in Brandon Cooks, you get another hopefully healthier Gallup this season. That opens the field up a lot more for a running back, just swinging out for a dump off pass for him just to take it. And when he gets it, heads downfield, that dude's electric, and he can make anybody miss, and he can score from anywhere on the field. So truly believe sky's the limit for that guy. And if they give him more than like 60% snaps, would I be surprised if he finishes 1? I don't know. I don't think it's out of the realm. I think Tony Pollard's one of the very few people on this list. Like I think it's Tony Pollard, Saquon. I'll throw Bijan in there because I really do believe he has the ability to. And then Austin and Christian McCaffrey. Like I think those are the guys that have the true possibility of becoming a number one back, like the number one overall fantasy back.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty much same for me. Like when I'm looking at like I think it's like my top 6 or so. About my top 6 is what I think has the possibility of being the number one overall.
I don't think Jonathan Taylor has it.
Yeah, I know, and people will get upset with that because they'll say, "Oh, well, he did finish RB1." Well, yeah, he finished RB1 with as the lowest. It was the lowest scoring RB year, and he did it on 20 plus touchdowns. Like so, if you think he's going to score 20 plus touchdowns again and 8 rush for 1,800 plus yards, and on top of it, the rest of the league's going to be down scoring. That's a trifecta, and you can hit. If you think that's all going to happen again, then sure. But I mean, that's also why though I do have Jonathan Taylor below those other 5 because like those other 5 have the pass game upside that I think Jonathan Taylor doesn't necessarily have. So I think
I would say Breece too if he wasn't coming off that knee.
I know.
I would really say Breece has that chance to, like, he's another one that I would not be shocked if we turn around at the end of the season. He's a top 5 back, and we're like, what did we just see? You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like in that top tier.
I would if he wasn't coming off ACL, I'd probably have him 5.
I would probably have him around 5.
Yeah. So I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. He's the man. But
for sure,
let's get into some call outs, Mr. Norton. Something we've both been waiting for patiently. I'll start. I'll call one of your guys out, and we can kind of get into it. So my first call out, even though I love him, even though I just said I wouldn't be surprised if it could finish number 1 overall, is Bijan Robinson at your RB3. I love him as a player. Don't get me wrong. For me to have him at 8, it feels low, but I'm pretty confident with where I have him. Last season, the Falcons ran 450 times. It's super hard for me to think that they're going to keep that pace up. When Mariota was on the field for his starts, the average attempts per game were 23. When Ritter came in, who obviously is the new starter this season, that jumped up to 29 attempts per game. In the 4 games, he only played 4 games, granted, but in the 4 games when Ritter was the quarterback, they passed to the running backs a total of 14 times. That's 3.5 attempts per game. Now, I know they're going to utilize Bijan in the pass game. Don't get me wrong. I have him statted for around 60 targets, but I really do find it so hard to believe that he's going to get up to that 80 to 90 target range where I could see like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that's a real possibility for him. Finally, we know Bijan. Don't get me wrong. Like we all know he's the man in that backfield. He's the, what was he, the 8th overall pick.
Yeah.
Coming in, he's going to be that number 1 alpha. But, dude, let's not forget how good Tyler Algier was last season. Like, he ran for over 1,000 yards. He was a rookie last season. He looked really good. I don't think he's going to, light the world on fire, but I think he's going to be a big enough nuisance in that backfield that they're going to it's going to hinder Bijan just enough to keep him out of the top 5.
Yeah, I think
Give me your spiel, baby.
as I say, I think all good points. Definitely all in the realm of possibility for sure. Like, see, so
That's fine, but it went from 23 to 29, like, and it's also on a bad offense who wasn't moving the ball down the field, right? So that's a big difference in an offense who's not from 23 to 29 in an offense that doesn't have as many plays as all the other offenses. It's a big deal.
yeah, no, for sure. Now, so to those points, I'll start off with the pass, like you said, the boost in pass from 23 to 29. I actually think that's great for them, because I don't want them to be just
So
overly run heavy. One, like people will think that was a good thing for the running back, sure, but when you're just giving guys just ground and pound type of work, I mean, one, it runs the clock off quicker, so you're going to have less plays per game. We want more plays per game. Two, you're just going to wear guys down faster too. And obviously, if there's more passing, there's more chance for him to get pass work, which, targets. I'd rather him get a target over a carry. So, I like that they're likely to throw more. If they could, even if they stick around 30 passes a game, I don't think they have much in the way after. Like Pitts and London will probably dominate 50% of targets combined, I would think. So then I think he could be third in the pecking order in terms of target share on a weekly basis. So I do think he could get, I don't know if I agree with you. I don't know if he's going to see like that 90 target. I could see him getting up to 60, 70, maybe.
I got him at like 62.
Okay. Yeah. So I could see him getting into there. And then to your point about Algier being, how good he was last year. To me, Algier is just a guy. I mean, he's like he looked good, sure, but I think it's more system. I think it's Arthur Smith he's known for what he's done in the running game. Obviously, Derrick Henry, he worked with Derrick Henry before. And Derrick Henry is just a freak, but Algier obviously did well. To me, he's a fifth round rookie from last year that put up around 5 yards per carry on a bad team. Like, to me, that's even more encouraging for Bijan, because I think Bijan is light years ahead of him from an athleticism standpoint and just a prospect in general. So like that's encouraging to me. I will say there is obviously the double-edged sword there that if he was good, they may not go away from him too, like you said. So definitely a very real possibility that he steals. But at the same time, if they stay run heavy, he can get, Bijan could get 13 to 17 carries and Algier still get his carries and Bijan get a few targets per game, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But yeah, so, and then when it comes to, it's always risky putting rookies this high, but when it comes to, doing that, running backs are the ones we see constantly step into the league for, rookies and just go crazy. I mean, Najee Harris as a rookie was RB6 points per game. Zeke was RB3. Saquon was RB1 in total points, tied with CMC RB2 in points per game as a rookie. All these guys, these were high-end first-round draft capital type of guys. Najee was a late first-rounder, and he was still RB6. And then, when you think about it from a comparison standpoint with Bijan and these guys who all stepped in and did it right away, Bijan, I think, is stepping into the best system in terms of like just Arthur Smith's system. And then he's also the best prospect, just in terms of prospect of any of them as well. Dwayne McFarland is like I've mentioned him on here before. He's one of my favorite analysts out there. They have a really nice, really good model for rookies that come into the league, breaking down everything, and it's pretty good hit rates and everything. And he was the only running back to hit 100th percentile as a prospect, pure prospect. The next closest was Saquon as a prospect, and he was 95th percentile. And then the only other ones that were 91st percentile or better were CMC, Dalvin Cook, Zeke, and Jonathan Taylor. Actually, not Zeke. Sorry, Fournette. And all those guys were studs. So I think the model that they have is pretty done pretty well in terms of ranking guys. Yeah, it was definitely really interesting from reading it and everything, and doing some research on it and seeing how well it's done. But yeah, and he's like I said, he's like light years ahead of them technically.
So what do you have him? What do you have him statted out for receptions?
I would say, I mean, like I said, I don't have it nailed down or anything, but like a rough number, I would say like 50 to 60
receptions, just not targets.
Yeah, I would say I'd probably, if I'm trying to be conservative, I'll say 50.
Okay. Yeah, that's not crazy. I guess where we differ, because I have, what do I have him statted out? I got him 61 targets. I might need to bump up. I have him for like 45 receptions.
Okay.
61 targets. I'm at 270 rushes as well. It's just, the other thing for me is I don't think the offense as a whole is going to be great with Ritter behind center. That's going to hurt his touchdown production. I have him at 7 touchdowns. And everything you said, I think he's going to be an awesome running back in the league for years to come. It's just for this season as his rookie season, with Algier coming off the season that he just had, I think there's going to be enough of a smack to him where I think he'll drop just enough to keep him out of that top 5 for me, because he's very. I mean, we're points wise. I'm trying to see where I have him. I
was gonna say, if you have him
close to,
I was gonna say he's probably pretty close. If you had him,
he's close.
He can.
I mean, if I move some things around, he could easily be in the top 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a talent, I like him. I just think this will be an interesting year to see how it plays out in the Falcons offense. We all saw it last year. It wasn't great. They got a lot to fix. So
yep,
we will see. Norton.
Yeah. So
go ahead,
moving
buddy.
on, we're going to call out Travis Etienne. This was a little foreshadowing from earlier. Travis Etienne at RB12 for you. Man, this one was tough because I don't know if you remember Mario and I last year especially loved Etienne. Mm-hmm. And man, I feel like I've flipped on him so much.
Both you guys.
Yeah. The biggest problem for me is that he was such a disappointment in the passing game. Last year I was all in because he had an elite receiving profile coming out of college. And then, there was I did hear some people who were like more of film scouts kind of saying like Etienne's numbers look better than they are because he would just catch it and go. Like, it wasn't that he was a good route runner, it wasn't he was a good pass catcher, it was just that he was such an elite athlete that he could get it and go. They were worried about it at the next level, and last year it was really, really, really rough. He only caught 35 passes for 315 yards, 45 targets. If you go deeper into it, the metrics, it's even worse. He got a 52% route participation rate, which is really good. But he only had a 14% target per route run, which was outside top 36. Yeah, terrible. His 1.0 yards per route run was barely top 36. And he also had a 49.8 receiving grade for PFF, which, people debate it one way or another, but either way, it's pretty rough. It was the second worst among all running backs. I know the worst the year before, at least. I don't know what the worst was last year, but the worst year before was Devin Singletary, and he had gotten dogged about how bad he was, and we saw that he's not been used in the pass game.
Mhm.
And then, on top of that, he wasn't good inside the 5 either. I've gone back and forth on this, whether this is like bad or good for him, because on one hand, you could say it's kind of regression coming. And
Mhm.
he only converted 23% versus a league average 40%. But on the other hand, it's a little bit worrisome because if that rate does continue to stay low, they did bring in third round rookie Tank Bigsby, who's capable pass catcher, could also run inside the 5. So the high value touches, the inside the 10, inside the 5 work, and pass game usage is what I'm really worried about with ETN, which is really a complete 180 from what I was thinking last year. And I'm hoping that last year was somewhat of a blip in terms of the pass game usage, because if he increases that pass game usage, I'm going to look foolish on this. But I mean, I'm just really worried about it. There's a lot of red flags in the pass game metric, and like I said before, guys who don't catch passes, it's rough. It's usually rough for me. I always
Mhm.
have him lower than consensus, so that's where I'm at on
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and I think you're going to look foolish. So I think as a whole, right, as a whole of the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad, with you alongside, I think all of us are super intrigued by the talent of ETN. We just hated the usage in this offense, and yeah, he had some underlying stats that didn't look great. I 100% agree with all that stuff. But I think for me, on this ranking, I'm gambling more on the progression of Trevor Lawrence becoming a prolific passer as opposed to ETN even taking a step up. I think it's more of Trevor Lawrence's progression in this offense as a whole and what Doug Peterson has been doing. So I did a little deep dive, right? So most of the time when a lot of fantasy people say, oh, he's going to a rookie quarterback, they're going to dump the ball down a ton to running backs, yada, yada. I think it's very far from the truth. I think it's more of an elite pocket passing quarterback tends to dump down to the running back a lot more. So I did a little deep dive today where I pulled from last season. I took Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert. I think we can all agree that they're probably the top 4 pocket passing quarterbacks in the league in the sense of just as a pocket passer. We're not talking adding the rushing. Like that's why I didn't have Josh Allen in there, because yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks, but I think he's more of a dual threat as opposed to just a pure pocket passing quarterback that's elite. So I took those 4, and out of those 4, right, all pocket passing quarterbacks, they all had at least one running back have 69 targets or more, right? I think when you have an elite quarterback, they can read the defense pre-snap a lot better than most, and the game slows down for them a ton. So when they see it, they know, okay, my receivers, or they can just read the field a lot quicker than most quarterbacks can. So they'll see, okay, my number 1 target's taken, my second target's taken. I'm going to dump it down to my running back because I know he's on a swing route. It's going to be real easy for me just to dump it to him. And like you said, in college, he was so good at just grabbing that, that swing, grab it and go, right? That's where he thrives, when he just has the ball in his hands. And I think if Trevor Lawrence progresses the way that I think he's going to progress this season, take a step forward into that elite category with the Joe Burrows, with the Justin Herbert, and passing sense, that everything's going to come to a culmination of his passing completion percentage is going to increase because he's going to dump the ball down a lot more to Travis Etienne, as opposed to trying to force those harder passes into deeper down the field into, double covered wide receivers. He's going to take that easy dump off the Etienne. So I have Etienne. I don't even have him at the 69 mark. I have him a little bit under that. I think around 62, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where we greatly differ. And if you look at his Etienne's numbers last season, right? He really wasn't utilized until after the first month of the season. I think he had like 8 carries in every game in the first month of the season. They really didn't give him that lead back role until a little bit later into the season when that offense started clicking. And then even with that, he left the game early. I think he had 2 carries for 3 yards in the one game he left early. I think it was an ankle. And then he had 2 miserable games against the Tennessee Titans, who had a historic rush defense last year. I mean, if you remember back last season when we were going over our game projections, me and Mario would say every week, we would say, oh, he's playing the Tennessee Titans. It'd be like Saquon Barkley. We would think about it. We'd be like, I don't know, man. Against the Tennessee Titans, it's so hard for any running back to do anything against that defense. And for a defense to be that elite 2 seasons in a row against the rush, like just the rushing aspect of an offense, is super hard to do. So I don't think they're going to be quite as good. Yeah, that might be really good, but I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as it was last season for ETN to get something going against that offense. So those are 3 games right there and a full month of the season that he really didn't do a lot. And he still came in with 221 carries for over 1,200 yards. And like you said, he was 8th in carries inside the 5 with 13. And you did say he only had 3 touchdowns, but like, I guess we're betting against different odds where I think he's going to have a positive regression in that aspect. Yeah, Tank Bigsby's there. I think the offense as a whole takes a step forward. So there's going to be more scoring opportunities inside the 5. So even if Bigsby takes some of that away and ETN comes away with even 11 carries inside the 5, and he comes down from 13 to 11, even though Bigsby's taking more, I think that, what did you say? Was it 14% completion or whatever it was? I think that goes back to at least the average for the NFL running back, which is around 50%. So if he gets that number up from 3 to 6, let's say, that's a huge jump in rushing touchdowns right there. So I haven't even projected for maybe even less inside the 5, but just a greater rate of completion inside the 5-yard line. If anything, man, I think I got him pegged a little bit too low. I could see him sneaking up even a little bit more. If I'm right on this offense, which I'm throwing a lot of my eggs in this basket with the Jags offense, where I think they're going to take another big step forward if Trevor Lawrence progresses the way I think he's going to progress. If I think with Christian Kirk, with Calvin Ridley, it'll open the field up a little bit more. So that's another aspect of it. Calvin Ridley's coming in this offense where they're going to have to focus on Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk, which leaves Travis Etienne wide open a lot. And if Trevor Lawrence figures this out and is just, I'd rather dump it down to Travis Etienne for an easy 10 yards instead of trying to throw it into double coverage to Evan Ingram down the field, down the seam. I think the sky's the limit for him. I really do.
Yeah, I hope you're right for my some of my dynasty shares here, because I was buying up ETN all last year, and I still like him because I think this is in the range of outcomes. I think your possibility is in the range of outcomes. So I'm hopeful. I'm hoping. I am pessimistic for this season.
I understand. So. I understand because a lot of those, the funky metrics that us as fantasy nerds look at, the inside the 5 touches, the completion percentage on those touches, the what he did when he was receiving those targets and the yards per route run and all that sort of stuff was funky for him. Also, man, let's not forget he was coming off a major injury. Another season off of that where he can kind of get back to himself. He feels comfortable cutting. He feels comfortable, doing things that he was doing in college, as opposed to last season where he might not have been fully himself. We don't really know if that was the true ETN last season, or was that an ETN coming off an injury where he was afraid to do stuff?
Right. Yeah. And I agree on that. That's another aspect where he could take that step up of more than a full year removed from.
And that was a Liz Frank, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's an injury where, especially for a running back, cutting on your foot and trying to do different things like that, it can be a mental hurdle that you need to overcome. And I think he did to a large extent, where in the middle of the season when he was a top 5 RB for a stretch of the season there in the middle, where he was getting the work, 18 touches, and he was getting some passing work, and he looked really, really good when he had the ball in his hands.
For sure.
That's the thing, is it's again, I go back to, I really think elite passers utilize their running back in a way that not elite passers do. And if
I agree,
I'm right where Trevor Lawrence takes that step forward into an elite passer, I think he's just going to be smarter and take that check down to ETN instead of something stupid.
Yeah.
Where we saw Trevor Lawrence do a ton of stupid stuff last season, right? Like he did a lot of dumb stuff, throwing the ball into double coverage, trying to fit the ball into a window that he shouldn't be doing, as opposed to just an easy dump down to one of the premier athletes in the league.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I do think, I'm probably the high guy on ETN in our group, and I'm fine with it because I think he can make some noise this season if everything goes according to plan for me.
Yeah. No, it's fair. Definitely fair points.
Yeah. So let's get into my second call out for you. I'm going to go with Mr. Joe Mixon at RB12. So Mixon is a rare case for me when I look at the statistics and everything. I want to have him higher than I really do have him ranked, but the murkiness around him, I just can't get on board with him being a top 12 back. And like you said, they brought in Chase Brown, a 5th round pick. So I get it's not super, a ton of draft capital in him. They're pumping up Travion Williams. There's not a ton around him. With everything surrounding Mixon on the off the field stuff, I see the Bengals kind of utilizing this running back situation as maybe more of a running back by committee than they typically do, even though they use Perrine and he's gone now. I think it's going to be a chance for this offense because the offense is so good that I think they're going to be able to try some other running backs out in this offense to see what they have. Because I think the writing's on the wall that Mixon's probably gone after this season. So I think they're going to try to see what they have with these other running backs in this offense, because when they get up by, 20 points in the first half, which is likely on some of these teams, they might just say, let's see what we got with some of these other running backs and let Mixon, stand on the sideline and not do anything stupid. And also, dude, by all accounts, in the past 4 seasons, he hasn't been particularly good in the run game for real NFL football. He's averaged 4.1, 3.6, 4.1, and 3.9 yards per carry, respectively. He's fantasy relevant and fantasy good because of his ungodly usage that they just give him a ton of volume. If those numbers dip in the rush game, just a little bit with his yards per carry and how much he's utilized, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of give some of these other running backs some usage inside the 5 to see what they have. If those numbers come down a little bit on his usage rate, it's super hard for me to see a path for him to be as good as a top 12 back.
No, it's definitely fair. Definitely fair. Yeah, for me, I'll say my main argument basically for him is it is based around that ungodly usage, like you said, and especially taking that step in the passing game. I think we saw the Bengals realize, like, the past 2-3 years now in a row, they've increased their pass usage with Joe Burrow, which makes sense. And like you said, Joe Burrow is an elite passer in this league. He takes a check down when it's there. I 100% agree that Mixon is not like an efficient runner at all. It's just this role is so awesome in this offense. They should be a top 5 scoring offense again. He scored or been on pace for, like, the one year he was hurt, but he had like 4 or 5 touchdowns in 6 games or something like that before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. So he was scored, aside from that year, he's scored 8+ touchdowns in each of the last 5 seasons. So basically more likely to score a touchdown in a game than not, any given game. He gets inside the 5, inside the 10 usage. He gets ton of pass down usage, especially Samaje Perine gone, like you mentioned. I do just expect I expect his ADP to keep rising as the season gets closer because everyone's kind of off him because of the offseason turmoil. And rightfully so. I can understand, further out, there's more risk. But as the season gets closer, I think people are going to start pushing him further and further up. If he gets this kind of usage, to me, it's like almost impossible for him to not finish top 12. He's done it like 4 of the last 5 years. So I do expect, I do think it's in the realm of possibility, like you said, for them to start using other guys. I also could see them maybe go the other way and say, hey, run this guy into the ground.
Last ride.
Yeah. We're going to run this guy into the ground.
I can see where you're coming from with that for sure.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's a volume play, really. I've always been a mixing guy. I just love a high usage role, especially if you're getting pass work. That's the thing that's so enticing. But yeah, and the last guy I will call you out on, we foreshadowed it a little bit, Miles Sanders at RB10. Man, it's another one. 2 guys that I've called you out on were guys that I've loved, and I hate going against them. But I've always loved Miles Sanders, and I think I'm actually higher the consensus on him as well this year too. But definitely top 10 is bold and aggressive. I could see it happening, but I also have him at RB19, I think, for me. For what it's worth, that's a tier that's 14 through 19. So, but it's hard for me to get him much higher than 14. He hasn't had more than 28 receptions since his rookie year. Obviously, the thing is, though, he's going to the new team. He's not going to be with the rushing quarterback, Jalen Hurts. So very, very possible he could see a career high usage in passing. But I also question it too, because it could be offset going from one of the highest scoring offenses to possibly one of the lowest scoring. So if he doesn't see that dramatic usage increase in the pass game, it's going to be hard to do what he did last year, because he did rush for 1,269 yards and had 11 touchdowns and still finished RB21, 12.7 a game. So he's definitely going to have to increase that pass game usage to get up to this top 12, top 10 mark that you have him. I hope so. I love the guy, honestly. I loved that. I was so hype on him after his rookie year. So I really hope so. I'm above consensus, so I'll probably still have some, but yeah, I had to bring it up with the top 10. It's a bold call.
No, so, everything you said is 100% correct. And the main reason that I'm so high on him is exactly what you said. I think that pass usage is going to catapult this season. I'm sold on the fact that the pass game is going to dramatically just jump up like crazy. He's going from a run heavy quarterback. We keep talking about it, like when you have a quarterback that likes to run, the pass game for the running backs is ultimately nothing, because they're going to extend the plays, keep their eyes downfield, and then if it's not there, they're going to take off, as opposed to a quick dump down where a lot of the pocket passers do. So he's going to more of a traditional pocket passing rookie quarterback who will, by all accounts, stick mainly to the script that the offensive coordinator and head coach will scheme up. And that, speaking of that head coach, we have a new offensive minded head coach coming to Carolina, and Frank Wright, who he's already said that he wants to get Sanders back to at least his rookie season numbers in the pass game, which was 50 receptions on 62 targets. So another one I did a little deep dive on because I knew this was going to come up today. So let's go all the way back to 2016, which is Frank Wright's first offensive coordinator job with the Philadelphia Eagles. So these are his total targets to running backs in offenses since he became an offensive coordinator in 2016. 91, 102, 118, 89, 131, 105, and 95. Frank Reich loves to use his running backs in the pass game, and he's also known for kind of leaning on one main running back in his system as opposed to a running back by committee. So I think that's going to be 100% Miles Sanders. They brought him in on a main like he was a guy that they went out and got on purpose. Like they wanted to bring him in. There's only Chubba Hubba behind him. behind him. And like, I think we've all seen enough out of him where we know he's not going to really eat into too many targets or rushing touches. This honestly comes down to me. Like, I'm so high on Miles Sanders because I truly believe in Frank Reich and how he uses good running backs in his offensive system. What an idiot. Why does he got to call me out like this? Insert Wilfer, what an idiot. Thank you, Mario. So anyway, where was I? So we also, Norton, we know that he is like you love him. He's uber efficient in the rush game. He's got a career average over 5 yards per carry. And I understand that's probably going to drop down just a little bit because he's going from one of the best offensive lines in Philly to a Carolina offensive line. It's okay, but it's not anywhere near Philly.
Right.
So I even dropped his yards per carry down to a career low. I'm looking for his attempts to stay relatively around the same. I think I have it ticked up, or he had like 250 some rushes last season in Philly. I have him up to 266 this season in Carolina. I also have his total rushing touchdowns coming down a little bit from 11 to 8, I believe. But my prediction for him is that he's going to take a drastic jump up in targets in this offense to around 65 passes for this season. He's going to have 65 targets this season in my projections, which could really bring him into that category of being on that elite side of a pass catching, dual rushing, where he's going to get over 260 and over 60 targets in an offense, which, yeah, it's probably not going to be great. But if he gets that much usage in an offense and he can be somewhat as efficient as he has been in Philadelphia, I think he's an easy top 10 for me. I want to pump him up even higher, but it's crazy to me to do that. I am just a true believer in what Frank Reich can do with a running back, kind of how you are with Arthur Smith, in a system where he utilizes one main running back and has a proven track record of continuously using his running backs in the pass game. I think Miles Sanders is a perfect fit for this offense.
Yeah, I could definitely see it happening. Like I said, I hope so. I think, I've always loved Sanders. Like, I even had put out the stat. I think I told you guys before about like how ridiculous of the numbers he put out as a rookie under the age of 21 or something like that. It was like only like LT, Edger and James twice. Like, it was all like elite guys what he did, and then all of a sudden, just doesn't get any pass game usage next 3 years or 2 years or whatever. And it's just like, so it's frustrating. I think he's more than capable as a pass catching back.
So do I.
So I could see it. I could definitely see it.
I mean, we talk about it continuously on this this podcast, that if you're in an offense with a rushing quarterback, the running backs just aren't going to do damage in the pass game, and that just hurts them. It's a huge factor when you're looking at running backs. And Jalen Hurts, he's one of the best to do it with his legs as a quarterback. So going from that kind of offense where, you're in a gimmicky offense with a lot of RPOs and a lot of things that are different, going to a more traditional style offense where you're going to be utilized in a way that you can, hopefully Frank Reich uses him in a way that we've seen him be super successful in the pass game. And if they can just kind of unlock that a little bit, I think 65's even maybe, for me, I feel like it's a little bit kind of under what he could really get to. Right. If they use him as much as I think they're going to, because I think he could be on the field 70 to 75% of snaps. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, definitely going to be exciting to see what he can do there. I'm excited, honestly. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for him. He's one of those guys that I've always kind of rooted for. So this could be, a little biased, but I'm okay with it because I think he has proven that he's definitely one of the best to do it. And he's one of the best out there. And he's just kind of got to get used the right way in this offense.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. So it remains to be seen. I'm a little bit more skeptical, obviously, but
okay.
I am hopeful too.
That's why we're doing this.
That's why we're doing
this, baby. Get
exactly.
both sides. Let's see who comes out on top. And I'm gonna be 4-0 on this podcast.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll see. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. But
it's gonna be.
This
fun.
was a fun one, man. I love doing these with you.
Same.
I think the RB position is one of those that we can go back and forth for hours and keep talking and keep going on, guys, because I had a couple more I wanted to call you out on. We just didn't have the time, and now we are out of time. So if you guys don't follow us on Twitter, it's @DadBotFS. If you don't follow us on YouTube, Twitch, it's @DadBotFantasySquad. I'm going to upload this right after this on all the major streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Apple Music, all that stuff. If you guys don't follow Norton, it's @Norton0723. Go give him a follow. He's one of the best to do it out there. For Rob, for Norton, this is the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. Peace.